So, good morning to all participants. I am Maricar Sarmiento, and I am welcoming you all for this fourth series of EQUIP, which entitles Patient Safety and Food Safety. So, to start this event, may we bow our heads and feel the presence of the Lord.
Let us bow our heads and put ourselves in the presence of the Lord. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for gathering all of us today. We thank you for the gift of life and strength that you have provided us all to be part of this endeavor. We seek your forgiveness for our wrongdoings as we have forgiven those who have done us wrong. May you bestow your guidance and blessings so that we can enjoy and appreciate its significance in our lives. Bless everyone who is present here today. May each one of us be able to share our knowledge, understanding, and wisdom for your glory and honor. May the various activities related to this event be a success through your intervention. All these we ask through your name. Amen.
So, for questions po, kindly type your questions in our chat box po, and we will accommodate it later po after the discussion. Thank you. So, to start, for the introduction of the speaker, our first speaker today is a medical officer in the Department of Pathology and Laboratory in Quirino Memorial Medical Center and a member of Hospital Safety and Health Committee in Quirino Memorial Medical Center. Please welcome Dr. Eileen Villarome.
Hi, good morning.
Morning, Doc.
Good morning, Ma'am Maricar. Good morning. So we have 91, almost 100 participants. 94. Wow, dami dami natin participants. Even after the typhoon and baha. Okay? So marami pa rin nag-attend for this equipped online um, conference. Okay? So we are very thankful for all the attendees. Dumadami, 95. Okay. Yes, good morning, good morning. So we are beating 97, beating 100 participants, over 100 participants. Okay. Thank you for the participants. Okay. Yeah. So may we start? So the patient safety discussion will be a very brief discussion about patient safety. So yeah, good morning from Batangas. Okay. So okay, let's start our discussion. So I will just talk about very briefly about the patient safety. So here are the following the scopes of my discussion for today. Next slide, ma'am Maricar. Okay, yeah. So these are the following scopes to be discussed this morning about the patient safety. So I will just discuss briefly about the overall view about the patient safety and how dangerous it is, how big the problem of our unsafe care. Actually, hindi lang naman dito sa Pilipinas, okay? Yung problem, yung burden, kung gaano siya kalaki. So it's a worldwide, sabi nga nila, globally problem, okay? So that's why the third topic to be discussed is ano bang ginawa ng World Health Organization and as well as the DOH, okay, to address this global problem about for the patient safety, okay? Ano bang effect kasi ng unsafe care, okay, sa ating system? Hindi lang naman kasi yung yung patient harm kasi, yung unsafe patient care, hindi lang kasi sa patient lang nakikita yung effect, okay? It also affect the economics, okay? So nagkakaroon talaga ng global problem. So it will also be discussed ano yung mga ginawa ni Philippines as per DOH affirmation to partly participate dun sa WHO strategic plan nila on how to implement their patient safety action. Okay. So, and as well as the progress on patient safety will be discussed, and ano yung mga other steps na ginawa ni program, okay, para mas lalong ma-enhance yung implementation ng patient healthcare. Okay, so next slide. So I will discuss ano ba ang safety. What is the definition of safety? Okay, there's a lot of definition that you can see or search online on the book about the definition of safety. Actually, some of them says that the meaning of safety is the condition of being safe from undergoing or causing hurt, injury, or loss. Pero it's as simple as, ang safety kasi is as simple as a term of, this is the state of being safe. Diba? Kaya nga safety. This is a state of being safe and protected from danger or harm. Yun lang siya kasimple ang definition ng safety. But let's move on further. The definition naman ng what is the patient safety? According to Hippocrates, it was said that primum non nocere. So in a Latin word, it said that primum non nocere, or in English, it is first do no harm. So actually, first do no harm is the most fundamental principle of any healthcare services. Okay? So actually, ito yung isa sa mga kasama sa oath ng mga healthcare workers. Okay? So pag nag-oath kami, yan, isa yan sa mga sinasabi namin. So, ibig sabihin, no one should be harmed in healthcare. Kaya nga pumupunta ang mga pasyente sa isang ospital o sa isang clinic kasi meron silang nararamdaman, and then as well as nasa isip nila, safe sila pag pumunta sila sa hospital or nag-seek ng help sa mga healthcare. Okay. So however, there is a compelling evidence of huge burden of avoidable patient harm globally across. Okay? So meaning, hindi pa rin talaga maiwasan na merong mga avoidable harm na pwedeng mag-cause ng unsafe care sa mga patient. Okay? Actually, patient safety hindi lang siya specific, okay, sa patient. It was also discussed sa ibang definition na patient safety is not only for the patient itself. Doon din sa relative, sa family, sa mismong healthcare worker, as well as to the environment. Okay? Hindi lang doon natapos yun. Kasama din dyan ang government. Kung ang government ba ay may policy regarding to this patient safety. Okay. So again, by Hippocrates, sabi niya, first do no harm. Okay? Ano lang yan there are two things dealing with the disease. So when you're handling the patient with disease, either you help or you do not harm the patient. Okay, by avoiding the avoidable harm. Ang hirap, no? Pause, avoid. Okay, let's move on. So, these are the definition of patient safety. Oh, sorry, yan pala na-late yung yung previous slide, sorry. Yan. Next slide. Nawala yung, sige. Yan, okay. Patient safety. Okay. So this, ito, one of the definition, okay, of patient safety, the absence of preventable harm. Actually, this is taken from the website of the WHO. So I just forget to include sa aking slide. Okay. According to WHO, patient safety is the absence of preventable harm to a patient, okay, and reduction of risk of unnecessary harm associated with healthcare to acceptable minimum. Okay. So, yung marami kasing risk. Okay? Pag pumasok ka sa ospital, being a patient, may sakit na nga, pag pumasok ka sa isang ospital o sa isang clinic o primary level o saan man yan, basta healthcare provider, okay, there's always a risk. Okay? Laging may risk. So, ang sabi, patient safety is to reduce that risk of unnecessary harm. Okay? Hindi naman siya totally talaga 100% mapiprevent. Okay? Pero at least man lang ma-reduce yung risk no unnecessary. Okay? Kasi yung risk kasi na-assess natin, nalalaman, naaaral na kasi natin yan ahead of time. Okay? Yun, when we identified the risk, makikita na rin natin kung paano natin siya i-control to minimize the effect of that risk. Okay. So let's move on. This is the another definition of patient safety. So this it was said, ito naman according to our Department of Health definition on the patient safety. So this is according to them, the patient safety is a framework, okay, of organized activities that creates cultures, processes, procedures, behaviors, technologies, meaning hindi lang siya isang factors, di ba? And environment in the healthcare that consistently and sustainably lower the risk, reduce the occurrence of avoidable harm, make error less, okay, likely, and reduce impact of harm when it does occur. Meaning, yung risk, hindi talaga siya 100% maa-avoid. At least man lang ma-lower mo yung effect, okay? Ma-reduce mo yung impact ng harm to the patient when this occur. So, according to DOH, it is a framework of organized activities. So, hindi lang single factor o hindi lang isang factor lang ang pwedeng mag-affect o maka-apekto doon sa patient safety o doon sa patient harm na pwedeng mag-cause doon sa lahat ng papasok ng isang ospital o ng healthcare facilities. Diniscuss nga rin dito, sinabi niya, environment. So, isang factor din kasi, malaking impact yung environment, lalo na din, hindi lang sa patient, pati din sa mga healthcare providers. Kasi, how can a healthcare providers serve their 100% capabilities na mag-serve sa patient ng kanilang care if sila mismo ay hindi safe doon sa kanilang workplace. Okay? So dapat si management ina-assure din yung safety ng environment to the employer o to the healthcare provider at dun sa papasok na patient. Di lang patient, relative. Okay? Visitors. Okay? Sinabi rin dyan ng visitors. So, it's a framework of organized. Okay? So, ito, organized activities that creates culture. Okay? Ito is sa mga naging challenge talaga ng WHO on how to implement to lessen the risk kasi yung culture kasi medyo mahirap baguhin. Okay? Although may mga policies na tayo nakalatag, meron kasing mga, alam niyo yun, yung mga, comfort zone. Yun. So, medyo mahirap kasi baguhin yung mga comfort zone. Tapos, syempre, minsan yung mga, iba-iba kasi yung culture natin. Okay? So, ito is isa mga naging major challenge din ng WHO as well as ng DOH on how to fully implement their policies regarding the patient safety. Okay, let's move on. So, then this slides, okay, it shows the, these are the following factors. Factors that leads to the patient's harm. Okay. So, okay. So let's do also these slides. Factors leading to the patient harm. So, sabi nga kanina, di ba, sa definition, it's a framework of organized activities. Okay. Kasi yung factors as well na nagpo-cause ng harm sa patient ay madami rin. Hindi rin siya isang factors. So these are the following factors that lead to the patient harm. Number one, system and organized factors. Okay. Ito yung mga disruption ng workflow. Meron kasi nga, yung sabi ko nga, comfort zone ito na nakagawian namin eh. So bakit yung babaguhin? So yun mga ganun, disruption of written mga SOPs. Yan. Kasi nga, system siya eh. So, system, ibig sabihin, maraming organization ang involved. Hindi lang si DOH, hindi lang si PhilHealth, as well as the communities, di ba? So, pag nagkaroon dyan ng discontinuity doon sa linkages, nagkakaroon ng disruption sa workflow. So, ito ay isa sa mga factors na nagli-lead patient harm. Okay? Second factors, technological factors. Ito yung, lalo tayo, mga sa Philippines, medyo backward pa tayo sa mga technologies. Marami kasi mga hindrance, okay, na para ma-push fully implementation ng mga health information system, okay, lalo na sa mga, kasi number one factor na big factor na pumipigil sa ating improvement, lalo na sa information, is yung internet capabilities, di ba? So, lalo sa mga rural areas, yan, di ba, na mahina ang internet. Okay. So, nahihirapan sila magkaroon ng access, okay, sa technology. In some country kasi, sa kanila very accessible ang kanilang electronic health records. Yan, lalo na pagkaroon ng distraction sa linkages ng pagkuha ng mga health information ng patient. Nahihirapan silang kumuha. So, tatama rin na sila magpagamot. Okay? In some countries, very accessible ang kanilang health information kasi through their fingers lang, one touch to their computer, to their cell phone, they can access easily their hospital records. Okay? Even naman dito sa Philippines, some of the private hospitals can do yung ganong electronic health records. Yung lahat ng records mo, andun na. One touch lang, may kita mo, one click lang, nandun na lahat ng records mo, yung mga previous history ng iyong hospitalization, even your medications. Yun. So, yun ang isang mga factors na nagkakaroon tayo ng problem. Okay, na nagpo-cause to the patient harm. Another factor is the human factors. Okay? All we know, lalo na nag-pandemic, di ba? Human factors, nagkaroon ng mga, ang tawag doon, limitation ng mga employee, okay? Ng mga healthcare providers. Okay? Instead, they stay here in the Philippines. Anong gagawin nila? Siyempre, hindi man natin sila pwedeng pigilan sa kanilang future. Gusto nila na maraming benefits. Siyempre, may family rin silang binubuhay. So, they opted to travel abroad, to work abroad. Okay. So, yun isa sa mga human factors. Nagkakaroon tayo ng yun nga, lack of health workers available. Okay. Actually, hindi lang naman tayo Philippines na may problem dyan. Even US, ang dami rin nilang problem sa healthcare providers. Kulang din sila. Okay? Pero syempre, mas kulang tayo. So, human factors, hindi lang yung number of available healthcare providers. Nandyan din yung behavior ng human, okay? On how they communicate, okay? On how they communicate with the patients and the relatives. Okay? Kasi nandiyan yung mga yung mga culture eh. Iba-iba ang culture natin. Second, patient-related factors. Okay? Ito naman, mismo yung patient naman na itself ang nagpo-cause ng harm doon sa kanya mismo. Kasi nandito papasok yung engagement ng patient to the treatment. Yung minsan kasi mga patient wala nang gana magpagamot, at non-adherence na sila to their treatment. Nawawalan sila ng pag-asa na sila gagaling pa. So, minsan naman, they skip their treatment. Okay? Kasi walang kasamang relative na maghahatid sa ospital. For example, for the chemo patient, diba? Sa dialysis naman, madaming limitation. Kaya si patient ay nag-result din sa lack of engagement doon sa kanyang treatment. Okay? So the last factor will be the external factors. Okay? Dito napapasok yung mga economical and financial problem. Okay? So this one is one of the, yun din na nakita na major challenge din talaga sa delivery ng quality ng healthcare. Yung economic and financial pressures. Okay? Hindi naman kasi lahat ng bansa ay katulad ng US capable to deliver 100% of. Actually, I will show you some data later on na kahit mga US na bansa, yung mga high-end na economic, ang tawag sa ganung bansa, mga ganon. Kasi tayo mga low income, di ba? Kahit mga high income countries, mataas din ang kanilang rate ng kanilang patient harm. Okay? So, next slide. So, this slide, okay. Why safety in the hospital? Bakit ba kailangan natin i-discuss ang safety in the hospital? Okay? One, hospital atmosphere is filled with emotions. Okay? Here in the hospital, people are very intensive. Okay? Because this place is filled with emotions. Iba-ibang emotions. Happy, masaya, malungkot, di ba? Pagod, lahat yan. Excitement. Yan. This hospital is filled with life, happiness, death, and sorrow. So very intensive ang place na to. Mix of emotions. That's why we need to discuss why safety in the hospital is very important and bakit ito pinagtuunan ng pansin ni WHO and as well as ng Department of Health. Okay. Second reason, hospital is open 24 hours, 365 days. Okay? So, it provides services to the sick people round the clock, 24 hours daily within 365 days in a year. Okay? So that's why, tapos dagdagan mo pa ng lack of staff, manpower, kaya nagkakaroon ng mga confrontational conflicts. Okay? So, yan. So that's why we need to discuss safety in the hospital. So next slide, please. Okay. So, why safety? Okay, sabi ni WHO, bakit kailangan natin pagtuunan ng pansin ang safety, lalo na patient safety? As I said kanina, patient safety is a global concern. Okay, it's a serious global public health concern. Okay, according to WHO. Okay, you can see this data in their website. Okay, so the WHO tried their best to simplify, okay, the comparison, the comparison, or they try to compare the data from from aviation industries versus the healthcare. Okay. WHO said that 1 out of 1 million chance of person being harmed while traveling by plane. But dito nakaka-worry talaga itong number na to. 1 out of 300 chance, imagine niyo of a person being harmed during healthcare when you are inside the hospital or basta in a healthcare facilities. Okay. So, meaning, in comparison, there is a 1 in 300 chance of patient being harmed during healthcare. So, industries with a higher risk such as aviation, yan nga, yung travel by plane, and nuclear industries have a much better safety record than the healthcare. So meaning, mas maganda pa ang kanilang yung mas less pa yung chance mo na ma-harm ka when you travel abroad, when you're in a plane, kaysa pumasok ka sa isang healthcare system, healthcare environment. Diba? So medyo serious ang data na to. Okay? So next slide. So, did you know? Okay? Did you know? Did you know that patient harm ranks as 14 global disease burden? Actually, nagulat din ako nung nakita ko po itong data na to. So, this was also can be seen through their website. Yeah. You can just type patient safety, then the rest you can see this data on their website. I was also shocked when I saw this data na patient harm is the number 14 global disease burden. Okay? They use conservatively, sabi nila, it almost comparable to malaria or tuberculosis. And knowingly, di ba po ba, tuberculosis and respiratory infection na, what I mean, that can be, you can get TB through inhalation. Okay? Very, alam niyo, yung kanyang, yung case na makakuha ka ng sakit na TB is napaka easy access, okay? As compare naman to yung patient harm. Okay? So na-shock talaga ako na number 14. So anyway, so through this data, kaya po si WHO and the Department of Health of any countries, okay, lalo na po si WHO talaga, siya talaga very eager to implement the patient safety policy. Okay, one of the strategies they use to gather data. Okay, kaya din sila nag-arrive sa gantong data na number 14, ang patient harm as a list of global disease burden. Paano ba nila nakuha ang data nito? Ito nga po kasi po, one of their strategies na ginawa ay they collect the data itself from the patient mismo. Okay? Meron silang mga recordings o yung mismo sa patient mismo, yung voice mismo ng patient o voice ng relatives, okay, sa kanila mismo nang gagaling yung data. So, one of their strategies is this one, elevate the voice of patients. Okay. So, any patients can elevate their concern, especially regarding sa patient harm. Meron silang parang link na pinalabas noon to gather this data. Okay. Next slide. Yan. Okay. So again, this data is taken from the WHO website. Okay. While in the hospital, nakakashock din po itong number na to. Nakakagulat. Okay. While in the hospital, 1 in every 10 patient is harmed. Okay? So meaning, around 1 in every 10 patient is harmed in the healthcare. Okay? And there are more than 3 million of deaths recorded annually due to unsafe care. Very, ano po talaga to, nakaka-shock na data. Okay? Imagine po natin, 3 million deaths annually from unsafe care. Diba? Sino po bang gustong pumunta ng ospital? Pag ganito pong nakita ang data nito, 3 million deaths annually due to unsafe care. Okay. And then, 1 in every 20 patient, okay, is yung 20 patient harm, yung event na yun na nag-cause ng harm sa kanila ay preventable. Meaning po, in 1 in every 20 patient harmed patient, okay, yung nag-cause ng harm sa kanila is preventable, meaning pwede pala siyang i-prevent. Okay? Then, next slide. And some estimates, sabihin nyo naman po, puros ang mga patient na nasa hospital, okay, na-admit. Ito naman po data na to, na for as many as 4 out of 10 patients are harmed in a primary and outpatient care. Magpapakonsulta na nga lang po sa OPD, baka mamaya dahil sa ubot-sipon lang, okay, naglalakad naman si patient. Pero 80% of patients seen in the outpatient department or in a primary health care, 80% of them are being harmed. Okay? So, pero by record, 50% of which ay avoidable po. So, kaya naman pala siyang i-avoid. Baka lang po talaga may kulang lang sa strategies ng implementation ng patient safety. As I discussed po kanina, being said kanina, sa discussion natin, yung mga factors na nagko-cause leading to the patient harm. Maybe we will go back to that factors, ano ba ang mga nagko-cause ng patient harm, so we can focus on that factors. Okay? Kasi pwede naman po palang i-lessen yung harm. Okay? Yun nga lang po, baka kailangan lang natin mag-focus sa mga factors na yun. Okay. So next slide. So, ayan po, kanina. So kanina, 1 in every 10 patient. So balik lang yan. So previous slide pa po yan. That's it. So ito po, pakita ko lang po na doon sa previous slide. Yan. Thank you, ma'am. Okay. So according to WHO, 1 in every 10 patient is being harmed in the healthcare, and 20 patient na na-harm, 50% of which is napiprevent po yung harm. Bakit po? Kasi nga po, ito po yung data nila. Okay? Ito yung mga most common daw kasi po ng error na yon is from the medication error. Okay? So, yan, let's move to the next slide. Ito po yung slide na, yan, common sources of patient harm. Okay. So this slide shows that mga common sources of common sources of adverse events that may result in avoidable patient harm. Number 1 of which is the medication error. So 50% of avoidable errors came from the medication. Maybe because yung patient itself nga, kaninang factor natin is yung patient itself. Okay? Kasi nag-i-skip siya ng kanyang treatment. Okay? Or hindi po niya naintindihan yung instruction ni doktor o ni nurse. Okay? Medyo kasi nga po may sakit na si patient, nahihirapan na siyang iintindihin yung instruction kung paano iinumin. Number 3, baka po sa sobrang dami ng kanyang iniinom. Ano po? Baka nalilito na rin siya which one is the for the morning, for the PM. Okay? So, yun. Sabi nga po sa record ni WHO, 50% came from the medication error. So, meaning pwede pa natin i-less yung risk. So, ito po yung mga common sources of patient harm, medication error, unsafe surgical procedures, healthcare-associated infections, diagnostic errors, patient falls, pressure ulcers, patient misidentification. Okay? Malaki rin po ang share ng percentage ng patient misidentification. Okay? May mga experience po ako niyan sa ospital. Parehas na parehas pong pangalan. For example, Juana de la Cruz. Okay? Yun po pala, si Juana de la Cruz ay nanganak. Ang baby po kasi was newborn baby kasi, immediately, ang pangalan po ni baby ay nakapangalan kay mommy. Nilalagay lang, Baby Juana de la Cruz. Siguro po, yung staff na nagsulat, nakaligtaan po sulatan ng baby. So, akala po namin sa laboratory, yung dugo na pinasa ay kay mommy. So, mga misidentification po. Identification of the specimen. Okay. Next sources of patient harm is unsafe blood transfusion. Okay. And venous thromboembolism. Ito po yung mga common causes o sources sa nanggagaling, bakit nagkakaroon ng harm to the patient. Okay. Being identified, the risk, yung mga sources ng harm, na-identify na po kasi natin. So, since na-identify na siya, madali na po para sa atin kung paano siya iko-control. So, meron na po mga existing na mga checklists, okay, mga controls through checklist na para mas maiwasan o malesen yung effect ng harm. Tulad po ng unsafe blood transfusion. Meron na po tayong mga batas dyan about sa blood transfusion. Okay? Medyo naghigpit na po ang ating mga blood committees regarding sa blood transfusion. Lalo na po sa mga ospital, napakahirap po na basta lang makakuha ng blood. Okay? So, ano pa po? Ito po. Okay? Sa patient falls, okay, kaya po siya medyo in-emphasize ko sa patient falls. Yan. Patient falls, okay, may kita po natin is 1/3. Okay? So, medyo mataas po kasi siya. Patient falls are the most frequent adverse events in the hospital. Ano po ba pag sinabing adverse events? Okay? According to the definition of terms by DOH, okay, adverse event is untoward, undesirable, and usually unanticipated event such as death of patient or employee or a visitor in the healthcare organization. Okay. So it is an injury caused by medical management rather than by the underlying condition. Meaning, nag-cause siya ng injury not because ng kanyang sakit. Okay? because of the medical mismanagement. So, the incidents such as patients fall. Okay. Namatay si patient because of fall, hindi because of diarrhea. It's like that po, yung sinatawag na adverse events. Yan. Kaya po, nandyan din si patient falls. Patient falls, di man kasi natin nakikita, di po ba na minsan kasi akala natin, nalaglag lang, walang fracture na x-ray. Pero after ilang days, doon nagkakaroon ng mga effect. So, isa po sa mga mataas po talaga incident ng patient falls, lalo sa mga government agencies. Bakit po kaya? Kasi po, in a government agencies, DOH hospitals, napakadaming pasyente po. And then, lalo na pag mga dengue month, ang daming patient. Pero yung ating bed capacity, limited lang. So, nagkakaroon tayo ng mismatch ng bed capacity versus sa patient. So, wala naman po kasi tayong choice na hindi tanggapin ng patient kahit puno na ang ating ospital, admit pa rin tayo ng admit. Kasi yun po ang mandato ng ating Department of Health. Bawal po tumanggi sa pasyente. So, isa sa mga, yan po, minomonitor namin patient falls sa ospital. Lalo na po pag may mga, lalo na ngayon, umulan, bumagyo, expect po namin mataas ang mga kaso ng mga leptospirosis. And then after ilang days, mataas po ang ang data ng ating mga admitted patient for the dengue. Kaya po nagkakaroon ng mismatch sa bed capacity. Okay. So let's move on to the next slide. After we have discussed ano ba mga factors na nagko-cause to the patient harm. Okay. Let's move on to the analysis naman po. Ano bang effect ng patient's harm na to? Patient's harm potentially reduces the global economic growth by 0.7% a year according to the data of WHO. So, indirectly, napakalaki po ng kanyang effect. Okay? Pag tumaas po ang data mo for the patient harm, ang taas ng cases ng patient harm, bababa ang global economic growth. Okay? Kasi instead po yung pera na gagamitin for enhancement ng facilities, ng healthcare environment, okay, o kaya additional the money yung money na ginastos for the patient harm, instead gagamitin sana for additional purchase ng mga high-end na machines. Okay? So, kaya pambili ng mga dialysis machine. Okay. So, nasasayang po yung money yung income ng ospital just for makompensate yung cost ng patient harm. Okay. That's why the WHO consistently talagang persistent and consistent na sinasabi lagi nila every year in their meeting is invest in reducing patient harm. Okay, bakit? Because in reducing the patient's harm, which lead to significant financial savings. And hindi lang po yun. Okay? The most important here is a better patient incomes. Okay? If we reduce the patient harm, we will increase a better patient outcomes. Pati po mai-increase din po yung kampante at tiwala ng ating community na magpakonsulta sa ospital. Okay? Hindi lang po sa ospital, sa clinic natin, sa ating community. Okay? Kasi magiging isipin po ng community, ay, hindi naman effective sila, masasaktan na ako, may sakit na nga ako, masasaktan pa ako sa kanila. Okay. So, that's why we have to help our Department of Health to reduce patients' harm, the factors that, the sources of the common sources na nagkakos ng patients' harm. Okay? So, it's a good investment, sabi nga ni WHO. It's a very good return on investment, okay, is to reduce the patient's harm. So let's move on to the next slide. In a while, excuse me. Sorry, mag-empty na yung ano ko. And then, yan. So this slide, after discussing or knowing ano ba yung mga causes ng harm, tsaka yung mga data na na-collect ni WHO about patients' harm, okay? The WHO, okay, nag-launch na tinatawag na A Decade of Patient Safety. Okay? This is the WHO flagship initiative. So here, in A Decade of Patient Safety 2020 to 2030, naka-include dito, this one is their aim of this flagship initiative is a world in which no one is harmed in healthcare and every patient receives safe and respectful care every time, anywhere. So, kahit kailan at saan, kailangan po ang patient ay nakaka-receive ng safe and respectful care. Okay. So, parang ang hirap na po. Okay? Ang hirap mag-align. Okay? Kung paano mo isa-sustain, i-develop, implement. Okay? Actually, sabi nga po ng iba, madali magplano, mahirap mag-implement, pero mas mahirap ang mag-maintain. Okay? So, to support the WHO flagship initiatives, so next slide, ma'am. Okay, please. Okay. So, ayan. So, included here, also in A Decade of Patient, okay. Ano bang ginagawa ng initiative na to? Okay. So, included here, it provides leadership and coordination of implementation. I can share a data, a file. Actually, it's a book. Meron silang mga book na mga PDF na pwede natin po i-download from their website, okay, ng WHO. Nandiyan po yung mga strategies, okay? Lalo na po dito, A Decade of Patient Safety from 2020 to 2030. So, actually, before I discuss further about this, kaya si WHO na nag-arrive sa ganitong initiative na 2020 to 2030, kasi po, from the data they collected, and then after, that was around 2008, okay, 2007, before pa that year, okay. Nakita kasi nila parang wala pong improvement, okay, ang kanilang walang improvement in regards to the patient safety. So, here, nagkaroon sila ng natawag na A Decade of Patient Safety 2030 na to help, okay, the other countries, okay, to strategize paano ma-implement ang patient safety. So here included provides the leadership and coordination of implementation, provide strategic advice and guidance in formulating policies and plans, as well as to facilitate global advocacies. Yan. Si global advocacies, ito po yung mga advocacies na meron pala talagang mga ibang bansa, talagang they're very active in implementation of patient safety. Even here in the Philippines po, may iba talagang mga local government, local agencies, very active in regards to the patient safety. Okay? So, and then included also here in the decade of patient safety is the capacity building. Okay? Meaning, they have to provide education, okay, to the healthcare providers, education, trainings for the healthcare providers, the management, all of the staff, and hindi lang po yung mga healthcare providers, even po sa mga communities, okay? Naka-include din dito kung paano mabibuild ang kanilang capacity to implement and to make policies and plans and implement patient safety. Okay. Yan. Ano pa? Capacity strengthening partnership. Okay. Ito po yung engaging and empowering patients, families of the patients, as well as of the relatives, communities. Okay? Andyan din po papasok ang partnership with the other government agencies. Hindi lang po government, pati po mga private agencies. Okay? So, nandito na naka-include kung paano i-strengthen. Okay? Palalakasin po ang partnership between the linkages. Okay. So, next slide, please. Yan. So, in this slide, it shows that what we can be done, okay, for improvement ng patient safety. So, dinivide siya into 3, okay? Patient safety culture. Ito nga po yung sinabi ko kanina sa umpisa, yung medyo mahirap talaga po na baguhin yung culture. Yung from kampante na ako na ganito ganito sistema namin okay? Yung mga dating sistema, old system na takot mag-report. Kasi po kung hindi po tayo magre-report, okay? Hindi po natin ma-include sa data. So kung wala po tayong data na hawak, hindi po natin magagawan ng control. So may incident nangyari. May nangyari incident sa patient o sa environment, hindi natin ni-report. So, hindi po natin magagawa ng control, hindi natin may improve. So, yung mga ganong lumang kultura. So, yan po isa sa mga binigyan pansin din, okay, to develop patient safety. Okay. And then, recognizing and fully investigate errors. Okay. When we recognize and fully investigate the errors, okay, it's a system. The problem is the system. Kasi po dati yung culture natin, yung pinpointing kasalanan kasi na yan, kasalanan ni Juan. So, to change the old culture of pinpointing, na-change na po siya ngayon into no blaming culture. Kasi nga po, na-identify natin yung source of error. Okay. So, most of the errors came from the system, not to the person. Kasi may mga existing na pong mga policies, plans, o mga SOPs. Kapag po nakalatag na yan, ang gagawin na lang po natin ay susunod po doon sa nakalatag na mga policies and SOPs. And then, kapag nagkamali pa rin po, nagkaroon ng mga error, the problem must be is from the system, not to the person. Kaya po, naiwasan na po natin ngayon ang blaming, finger pointing na. Kasalanan kasi ni Juan yan eh. Okay. So, isa yan sa mga ginawa na change ng culture. Okay. And then, information to the patient. Napaka-importante po na i-share natin fully sa kanila yung information. Okay? Their rights nilang malaman. Eh. Provides accessible information using patient-friendly language. Actually, sa atin po, sa QMMC, gumagamit po kami ng English and Tagalog version ng mga instructions. Okay, hindi lang po siya puros English. May mga tinatagalog din po namin yung mga instructions na nakasulat sa mga tagubilin para nga po yung pasyente mas madali po nilang mauunawaan. Okay, using patient-friendly language. Okay. So, next is patient involvement. Actually, makinig po tayo sa sinasabi ni patient. Mamaya, hindi lang pala ang problema niya po ay hindi lang yung sakit niya. Yung sakit niya because of our management. Okay? So, importante po yung kanilang sinasabi. So, we have to take note of that. Take their concerns seriously. Okay? And then accept them as equal partners. And then encourage their feedback. Kasi po, through their feedback, doon po tayo magkakaroon ng improvement. We will use that as our tool for improvement. Okay. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. So, very po ang ating Department of Health, very supportive sa ni-launch ni WHO in regards to the patient safety goal, okay, to lessen the errors and the harm to the patient. Okay, so 2008, the Department of Health released an administrative order 2008, number 2008-0023, entitled the National Policy on Patient Safety, here in which naka-include po dyan prioritization of patient safety in service delivery. Naka-include din po dyan yung mga fundamental elements of quality of care across all health facilities. Okay, ibig sabihin po nun, hindi lang po si DOH ang involved sa patient safety. So next slide. So imagine po natin, since 2008, nag-release na po si DOH ng administrative order in regards to the patient safety. So as I said, that AO, okay, included the fundamental element of quality care across the health facilities. Okay, so this patient safety program framework, which shows that hindi lang po, this framework shows the involvement of every one of us, okay? Hindi lang po mga doktor, hindi lang po ang ospital, hindi lang po si PhilHealth, kasama din po ang communities to serve, to implement patient safety. Okay? So, yan po ang framework, okay, na ginawa ni DOH to show us na hindi lang po responsibilidad ni DOH itself alone to establish yung patient safety. Okay, malaki din po ang participation ng ating community. Okay. So, next slide. So by 2020, layo po, no? From 2008 to 2020. Nag-release po ulit si DOH ng AO 2020-007 entitled with the National Policy on the Patient Safety in Health Facilities, na bago lang po yung pangalan niya. Pero yung mga rationale po, objectives na-enhance po eh. After 2008 to 2020, syempre marami na po mga studies, mga data na gathered, na nakuha from the communities, from the primary, secondary, and tertiary level, and other stakeholders. So after studying that, so nag-release po ulit si DOH ng AO, na ito nga po, National Policy on Patient Safety and Health Facilities. Okay. So, yan. This is also to support to support, okay, yung engagement ng ating bansa sa WHO in regards dun sa patient safety, sa goal ng WHO. Okay. So next slide. Yan. And then po by 2023, nag-release po si DOH again ng Department Circular 2023 to 0549 entitled with National Patient Safety Progress Strategic Plan Annual Update. Okay. May mga mga update po yan annual. So at this time, medyo nag-enhance sila by technology kung paano rin po mag-update mga mga every level that includes in the framework of patient safety, pinakita ko po circle kanina, can give their updates, okay, directly to the DOH using the link given. Okay, ito po yun. Sige, next slide. Yan, okay. So, in line with the AO 2020, okay, this aims to provide an overview of the program's progress in the implementation of the national policy on patient safety for the year 2023. This is open sa lahat po. Anyone can access the link. Pwede kayo mag-access to get some data, to input your data. Okay. So, a copy of the above-mentioned update can also be downloaded. Okay. May mga link po siya. Okay. So, I can also share the links, yung mga links kung saan ko po sila nakita. Okay, for your easy access. Okay, so next slide. So, very recent po. Okay, this is the first ever WHO global report. Okay, on the patient safety aims to provide foundation understanding of the current state of patient safety across the world, which is aligned to the Global Patient Safety Action Plan. Okay, na 2021 to 2030 yung a decade of action plan. So it contains yung mga recent data nila. So pinakita lang po dito yung mga improvement, okay, ng kanilang mga metrics, okay, na and then ma-access niyo po itong Global Patient Safety Report 2024 through this link po. Okay. It's a PDF file. Pwede niyo pong i-download and i-print for your further readings po. Okay. So this is a infographic information, okay, on made yung progress about sa mga core indicators nila, yung mga progress ng mga metrics nila or indicators, kung talaga nag-improve yung kanilang action plan. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. So, as being said kanina, may mga what do you call this? Programs o advocacies po si WHO. So, the World Patient Safety Day, nag-launch po siya since 2019. The first the first World Patient Safety Day was launched 2019. Actually, the Patient Safety World Patient Safety Day was declared every 7th September 17. Okay, in every September 17, we celebrate the World Patient Safety Day. So it starts year 2019 and it follows until today. So, yan po. Before po kasi, ano lang, World Patient Safety Day lang, 2020, 19, 20, 21, 2022. Until 2023, last year, they opted to use something, mga themes, okay, to enhance, okay, yung safety day. Okay. So last year, the theme was engaging patients for safety, patient safety. But today, for year 2024, yes, let's move on to the next slide. 2024, so nag-release po si Department of Health ng memorandum about guidance on celebration of World Patient Safety Day 2024. Ganyan po ka-supportive, ka-active CDOH for the safety ng patient. Okay? So with the theme, next slide. Okay. So this year, the theme of the World Patient Safety Day will be improving diagnosis for patient safety. Get it right, make it safe. So to make it safe, next slide, patient safety starts with me. Sabihin po natin lahat, patient safety starts with me. Okay. Lagi po natin isipin yan. Kaya po si patient pumunta sa ospital para magpagaling kasi may nararamdaman siya. So, everything na ibibigay po natin kay patient, kailangan po, ma-assure din natin si patient na safe sila sa atin. That's why patient safety starts with me, with us. Okay. So, these are the 5 safety steps. Keep clean, get moving, plan for home, know your medicines, and ask questions. Okay po. Always ask questions. Pag po hindi natin naintindihan, always ask questions. Okay. Thank you. That will be my last slide.
So thank you, Doc Rome, for an informative discussion today with regard to patient safety. So moving forward, for the introduction of the second speaker, so good morning, everyone. So for the next topic, I'm Maricar Sarmiento, and I am a dietitian in Carino Memorial Medical Center, and I am a certified food protection manager. So moving forward for our topic. So good morning, everyone. So our next topic for today is regarding food safety. So our objectives: to demonstrate the statistics of foodborne illnesses, to define food safety, third, to determine the 4 types of food safety hazards and its examples, to deliver awareness with regards to danger zone temperature and to prevent cross-contamination, and also to ensure food safety in our home, food service, and in hospital days. So for statistics, So about 600 million cases of foodborne diseases and that 420,000 of deaths and 30% of foodborne deaths occur among children under 5 years of age. So according to World Health Organization, it is estimated that 33 million years of healthy lives are lost due to eating unsafe food globally each year. So what is food safety? So food safety refers to the conditions and practices that preserve the quality of food to prevent contamination and foodborne illnesses. So lahat tayo mga Pilipino mahilig kumain, no? So gaano tayo nakakasiguro na malinis at may quality yung kinakain natin? So need muna natin or kailangan muna nating malaman kung ano yung mga food safety hazards. It includes physical hazards, chemical hazards, biological hazards, and allergen hazards. So for physical hazards, these are foreign materials and objects that can enter the food we eat. So this is also known as extraneous matter. So ano yung mga examples ng physical hazards sa pagkain? Ito yung mga plastic, stones, human origin like yung mga fingernails and hair, wood and glass. So as you can see in the picture, so ito po yung mga sample na nakaka-apekto rin no sa food kumbaga sa food hazard no, yung physical po. So next is the chemical hazards. So these are substances that can be naturally occurring or they can be human-made. So they are sometimes intentionally added to our food for taste and preservation purposes. So for example, yung mga sodium nitrates and sulfites, so some chemicals can also be unintentionally added which can contaminate the food we eat. So examples, yung mga alchemicals like pesticides, herbicides, fertilizers, and fungicides. So next is yung mga veterinary drugs used to control and prevent illnesses in animals like yung mga antibiotics na ini-inject and growth hormones. Also yung mga chemicals din from machinery, maintenance, and cleaning materials. Example of these, lubricants, yung oil, sanitizers, disinfectants na ginagamit natin panlinis, and paints. So toxic metals like lead, zinc, arsenic, mercury, and cyanide. So kapag meron tayo nitong sa bahay or kung saan man tayo gumagawa ng pagkain, usually may times kasi na hindi proper yung mismong hindi proper yung paglalagay or pag-storage nitong mga examples na to. So it can cause food safety hazards, no? Lalo na sa mga kakain po ng pagkain. So next is yung biological hazards. So biological or yung tinatawag nating microbiological hazards occur when microorganisms contaminate our food. So microorganisms are living organisms that are so small. So ito yung kinakailangan microscopic ability, no? So kailangan tingnan muna sa microscope. So talaga ma-found natin kung anong bacteria or virus or parasites yung meron dito. That they are only visible through a microscope, no? So these tiny organisms can be found all around us in air, soil, water, animals, and humans. So yung mga examples nito is yung bacteria like Salmonella, Listeria, and Campylobacter. So yung fungi like yeast and molds, and then viruses like norovirus and hepatitis A virus, then parasites, or examples of this is yung worms and protozoa. So next is the allergen hazards. These are those that are caused by allergens in the foods we eat. So allergens are proteins that can cause severe and dangerous reactions in some people. So when someone eats, no, pag kumain sila, tapos may containing ito na allergen, no, tapos hindi sila aware na meron palang allergen yung isang type of food na kinain nila. So it produces an abnormal immune response in the body. So examples nito, yung mga eggs, no, example ng mga may itlog, no, na pagkain is yung mga cake, sauces, and mayonnaises, no. Then fish like sa salad dressings, pizzas, and sauces. And milk naman sa butter, cheese, and cream, powders, yogurt, and glazes. And also the peanuts and corn and crustaceans. So, para ma-prevent natin yung foodborne illnesses, is kailangan natin malaman ano ba yung cross-contamination na nagdudulot ng foodborne illnesses. So, cross-contamination, ito occurs when bacteria and viruses are transferred from a contaminated food or surface such as chopping board and utensils to other food. So, it can be transferred food to food, no? So, kung yung pagkain mismo, like doon sa picture na nandito, is yung isa, di ba, para silang raw, but magkaiba sila ng food group, no? Karne at saka gulay. So, it can be transferred kung lalo na yung pinagkuhanan nating supplier or bumili tayo sa market, hindi natin alam kung valid ba yung mga store na nabilhan din natin. So, it can transfer food to food, no, contamination. Also, the equipment to food, it can also be transferred. Lalo na yung knife natin, ginamit na natin siya sa karne, tapos gagamitin mo pa siya sa vegetable or fruits, tapos hindi mo siya hinugasan. So, it can transfer from equipment to food. And also, then next is the person to food. Let's say, sa isang establishment, ang food establishment, merong sick employee, tapos hindi siya nagsabi na may sakit siya, pero ginawa niya pa rin yung job niya, no, na mag-prepare ng pagkain. So, nagbumahing siya, parang hindi niya hinugasan yung kamay niya, no? Tapos dire-diretso pa rin yung paghiwa niya dun sa pagkain, tapos nagluto pa siya. So it can be transferred, no? Person to food, no? So ayun po. So next is, ano yung mga examples of cross-contamination? Like kanina, may mga nabanggit na rin ako, pero we will go further pa. So cross-contamination can also occur from incorrectly storing raw food in the fridge. So, paano ba tayo nag-i-store ng pagkain natin sa bahay, sa ref, no? So, meron kasi kaya yung ref na yan is ginawa na may layer-layer kasi merong purpose po yan. So, mamaya sasabihin ko para saan yung mga layers na yon. So, kung makikita niyo po dito sa picture na to, halo-halo siya, di ba? So, it can also cause cross-contamination, lalo na kung merong hindi separated yung raw food dun sa mismong cook food na, no? Pinagsama siya. So, malaki yung chances talaga na mag-grow yung bacteria and then pag kinain na natin, ayun. So, merong cross-contamination na nangyari and also, it can lead to foodborne illnesses. So, next is yung touching raw meats, then handling vegetables, no? Hinawakan ko yung ground beef, tapos hinawakan ko naman yung mga ready-to-eat na vegetables, no? Food without washing my hands between tasks. So, dapat, ang gagawin natin, once na may hinawakan tayong raw food, tapos magta-transfer tayo to another raw food again, so kailangan wash yung hands natin, no? Hand washing talaga tayo. So, yun yung number 1 rule para ma-prevent yung cross-contamination. Next is using a food-soiled apron or towel to wipe your hands between handling different foods. Usually, yung ibang food establishments, meron talaga silang mga tawag dito. Meron silang mga provided towels, no? Hindi yun pamunas lang ng pawis ng staff. So, yun ay ginagamit para rin yung surface, no, ng pinaggawaan nila ng pagkain is yun yung purpose para malinis, no? And syempre kapag basa yung kamay natin, kailangan meron tayong personal na pampunas, no? So yun po. So next is yung sick employee preparing foods and forget to wash his hands. So example din yun ng cross-contamination. Then preparing food where there are chemical residues on equipment, surfaces, and hands. Usually sa mga hospital and food establishments, merong mga every Friday parang merong schedule yan para mag-pest control, no? So dapat before mag-pest control, kinakailangan i-assure natin or ensure natin na ang kapaligiran natin walang pagkain na naiwan. So lahat ng mga equipments nahugasan tapos binalutan ng mga tela para maiwasan yung kumbaga cross-contamination between chemicals din. No? And between chemicals to food and between chemicals to equipment. So next is the spraying chemicals in the air, so which can land on food surfaces and equipment. So next is yung chemicals in packaging that can migrate into the food. So examples of this, yung coatings in tins and plastic containers. So usually yung mga tin cans, so usually processed naman sila, no? Kaya lang minsan may naiiwan, yung mga coated doon sa tin can, natatransfer sa food, no? And also the plastic container. So next is temperature danger zone. Keep in mind. So ito, kailangan po nating, kumbaga, kailangan natin siyang i-practice sa bahay man, sa food establishment man, or maging sa hospital. So, lalo na kapag tayo ay gumagawa ng pagkain, ipe-prepare natin, no, sa ating mga pasyente, ang mga pasyente natin is mababa ang immune system nila, no? So, kailangan yung mga pagkain na isi-serve natin sa kanila, may quality, safe, and nutritious. So, keep in mind, itong temperature na to, itong slide na to, usually, the temperature danger zone is between 5 degrees Celsius to 60 degrees Celsius. Bakit? Danger zone siya kaya naka-red siya. Kasi bacteria grow quickly, mabilis talagang dumami yung mga mikrobyo, bacteria na sa pagkain, no? Luto man yan or hindi, pagka may, kaya nga tinatawag natin, keep hot foods hot and keep cold foods cold. So, dito naman sa yellow zone, yung hot food zone, so yung bacteria are destroyed, no? So, it reaches 100 degrees Celsius. So, kailangan lutong-luto din yung binibigay natin sa ating pasyente, maging sa ating pamilya, at sa mga customers natin. And also, tandaan natin, ang cold food zone, kailangan i-store natin 0 degrees Celsius to 4.9 degrees Celsius, no? So, yung mga frozen food zone naman, dun sa blue zone, bacteria don't grow. So, mga negative to negative 18 degrees Celsius, yung po dapat yung tamang temperature ng bawat pagkain natin. So, minimize natin yung oras na pinag-i-spend natin yung pagkain sa isang room temperature kasi mas mabilis dumami yung bacteria nito. And also, refrigerated food needs to be kept at 5 degrees Celsius or below, and hot foods needs to be kept at 60 degrees Celsius or above. Okay po? So, para maiwasan yung foodborne illnesses. So, next, ano yung mga food poisoning microorganisms? So, kung makikita natin dito, mayroong molds, bacteria, parasites, yeast, viruses. So, first is the salmonella. Saan ba to galing, no? Usually, kapag hindi lutong-luto lang ng chicken, cooked meat, yung poultry, hindi siya luto or undercooked siya, yung mga unpasteurized milk, cheese, and undercooked eggs, no, it can cause an infection known as salmonellosis. So these bacteria are responsible for most food poisoning causes. No, usually yung iba nagdadiarrhea talaga dyan kasi masakitan siyan. So, yun, dahil dito sa mga bacteria, viruses na meron dun sa pagkain na kinain ng mismong host. So, next is yung Escherichia coli or E. coli. So, these bacteria are found in undercooked beef. So, kung mahilig kayo magluto, no, kailangan sa isip natin yung tamang temperatura ng pagkain plus yung preparation nito and storage. So, next is yung contaminated water. Pag contaminated yung water, E. coli, no? Merong present doon, and unpasteurized drinks, dairy, and raw fruits or vegetables. So, E. coli 0157 or H7 is particularly dangerous as it can also produce toxin. So, next is the Listeria monocytogenes. So, these bacteria are found in raw milk, salad, ready-to-eat foods, no? Raw or undercooked meat, poultry, and seafood. So they can cause listeriosis, which is a serious infection. So next is the norovirus. This is a virus that is also known as the winter vomiting bug. So it is spread by humans to food and drinks, then usually through poor hygiene practices. So dapat din tayo kapag gumagawa tayo ng pagkain, meron tayong mga safety gear or yung tinatawag natin naka-hair cup, meron tayong gloves pagka magta-transfer ng pagkain to another food item. So, kailangan naka-gloves tayo. And also, it is found in shellfishes, leafy vegetables, fruit, and ready-to-eat foods. No? Next is the Campylobacter. So, these bacteria are found in raw or undercooked poultry then. So, unpasteurized dairy products and untreated water. So, they can cause an infection known as campylobacteriosis. So, yung mga untreated water natin, so usually kailangan sa tubig pa lang, kailangan malinis na no, sa processing ng pagluluto natin para maiwasan yung mga foodborne illnesses. And lastly is the Clostridium perfringens. So, these bacteria are common in the environment. So, they are typically found in beef, poultry, casseroles, and gravies. So, ayun, basta tandaan lang natin na tuwing magpe-prepare tayo ng pagkain, make sure na tama ang temperatura ng pagkakaluto and also, malinis ang ating kamay sa pagpe-prepare ng pagkain. At the same time, talagang yung mga store or markets na pagkukuhanan natin or suppliers, kumbaga sila ay kalidad na, no? So, ayun. So, next naman is, what are the food safety practices? So, food safety is crucial for maintaining and promoting the health of those consume it. No, napaka-importante ng food safety, no, sa lahat, no, maging sa pasyente man, maging sa mga pamilya natin at sa mga customers natin sa mga food establishments. So, food and kitchen safety are important to protect public health, comply with the regulations, syempre, and also ensure customer satisfaction and achieve cost savings and protect the environment. Also, safe food handling practices prevent the spread of foodborne illnesses and health risks associated with contaminated food. So, kung makikita niyo dito sa slide kong to, meron tayong 4 na practices, no? Yung cook, separate, clean, and chill. So, lagi nating tatandaan tong mga words na to, no? So, cook to proper temperatures. Yung nabanggit ko kanina, yung mga danger zone and kailangan anong temperature yung dapat masunod kapag para ma-destroy yung bacteria sa pagkain. And also separate, no? So do not cross-contaminate. Lalo na sa fridge, yung sa ref natin, yung mga raw food, tapos nagluto ka, pinagsama mo sa isang layer lang. So it can transfer, no, to one another then. Kaya, yon, iwasan po yon. So, next is clean. So, wash hands first and after na mag-prepare ng pagkain. And also the surfaces, no, palagi. Yung mga pinagamitan, equipment, and also yung mismong tools, equipment, yung surfaces natin, linisan po natin, no, before and after use. So, next naman po is chill. So, refrigerate promptly, no? Kailangan po yung mga pagkain natin, iwasan po na nasa room temperature, no? Kung maaari po na ito ay store properly sa ref and i-consume immediately, no? So, next naman po is proper food storage. Ito yung kaninang binabanggit ko. So, ano yung dapat na order in which food should be refrigerated? So, sa first layer natin, kung meron sa bahay natin, ganito yung style niya, no? So, yung mga ready-to-eat foods like vegetables, fruits, pie, cake, milk products, etc. So, yan po yung nasa first layer sa top, no? So, mga ready-to-eat foods na po sila. So, next naman yung mga seafood natin, like yung mga fish, shrimp, shellfishes. Next, yung mga whole cut meats natin, yung mga pork, lamb, roast beef. Tapos, next is yung ground meat natin and ground fish. So, yung mga patties, andyan po yan. So, yung panghuling-huli po is yung whole and ground poultry, yung chicken or turkey. Bakit siya nasa dulo? No? Kung mapapansin natin, bakit kaya yung manok or yung poultry meat is nasa baba? Kasi yung drippings po nito, lalo na kung merong mga yung blood pa, no? Kapag nalinisan siya, syempre hindi lahat is na may residue pa na iiwan na blood, no? So kapag ito ay nilagay mo sa top, tapos yung mga ready-to-eat foods is nasa baba, magdi-drippings po yan, yung blood niyan, dun sa mismo ready-to-eat foods. At pag kinain natin yung ready-to-eat foods, malaki ang chances sa foodborne illnesses po kasi may cross-contamination na nangyari. So, kailangan po proper food storage prevents cross-contamination. So, lagi rin po nating tandaan yung proper, no? Na kapag mag-i-store tayo ng pagkain sa ref natin. So, next naman is yung tinatawag nating color-coded chopping boards. So, hindi lang siya binili or ginawa dahil makulay siya. So, may purpose po siya, no? Ang red chopping board is for raw meat. Then, the yellow one is for cooked poultry and other meats, no? Ito na po yung pinaka-updated na chopping boards natin kasi yung kulay blue naman po is for raw fish and seafood products. Then, yung white is for bread and dairy products. Yung green naman po is for fresh fruits, vegetables, herbs, and salads. Then yung brown naman po is yung mga root vegetables, potatoes, carrots, and turnips. And also, additionally, yung purple na chopping board. So ito po yung mga free form from products like yung mga allergens, no? So para maiwasan po yung cross-contamination, kaya yun po yung purpose ng mga color-coded chopping board. Lalo na sa ospital, ginagawa po natin ito, no, para maiwasan po yung cross-contamination, lalo na pasyente po natin yung ating binibigyan ng service. So, yung mga tips for using chopping boards. So, kailangan po yung mga chopping boards natin is malinis po bago siya gamitin and properly sanitize. Usually, sinusoak din po siya sa may baking soda, no? Tapos, merong kung ilan amount or ilang teaspoon yung ilalagay natin per liter of water. And then, do not use abrasive cleaning solutions and tools. Yung iba, meron tayo kasing intended na mga chemicals for equipment, tools, and also for chopping boards. So, hindi siya yung ginagamit sa mga surfaces natin, sa mga tabletop natin, is hindi siya pwede sa mga chopping boards natin kasi abrasive siya. So, makakasira siya ng quality rin ng chopping boards natin. And also, use non-slip chopping boards to prevent any workplace accidents. So, kailangan be mindful tayo pag gumagawa tayo sa kitchen or sa kusina natin, sa bahay natin. Kailangan din yung safety din natin, no? Kapag gumagawa tayo or preparation ng pagkain para sa sarili natin or sa pamilya natin. So, next po is replace damaged chopping boards na. And then separate chopping boards free from products from the rest of the chopping board sets, no? And use paired color-coded knives, yung mga kutsilyo din, dapat same din po, kung red din yung chopping board mo, kung yellow yung knife mo, yellow din yung chopping board mo, and so on. So next po, do not stack colored chopping boards on the top of each other, no? So wag i-pile up siya. So kailangan talaga, kumbaga, i-store natin siya in proper place din, and also follow other food hygiene rules when working in the kitchen. So, next po, yan. So, always remember, so keep foods hot, maintain hot foods at a holding temperature of 135 Fahrenheit or hotter. So, keep cold foods cold. So, maintain cold foods at a holding temperature of 41 Fahrenheit or colder. So, this is my takeaway message. So, safe food today is key to a healthier tomorrow. So, thank you. For questions po, we will accommodate po your questions. Just type po dun sa ating chat box po. Thank you so much for your time and listening po. Thank you. If you have questions po, just type in the chat box po natin to address po ito. So baka po meron po kayong mga questions regarding po sa patient safety and food safety. Pwede po kayo magtanong. So this one is good morning. So is there an increased chance to harbor the bacteria Escherichia coli to those foods being served or ordered half-cooked in some restaurants? Usually po, iano ko lang po yung slides ko. Ayan. So, going back dun sa question. So, yun po yung tanong natin dito is kung sa cross-contamination din sa E. coli po, no? Kapag bumili tayo sa labas, no? So, yung mga foods being served, no? Minsan kasi may mga restaurants talaga na merong standards talaga, no? Sa pagluluto, meron silang temperature control sa cooking, no? Meron silang nilalagay ng mga thermometer din. So, once na na-reach yung temperature nun, yung tamang temperatura, with quality, pwede siya, safe siya, ibigay sa customers, no? But, being served dun sa mga increased chance to harbor the bacteria, kapag po half-cook kasi usually yung iba, no? So, yung mga yung steak, usually ganun po, no? Dito kasi, mas prefer kasi natin yung safety ng consumer, no? So, kailangan po talaga na mas mainam or mas mapanatili na tama yung temperatura ng isang pagkain. Ang E. coli kasi po is mga contaminated water. Lalo na po kapag nagluto, no? Hindi natin alam kung saan galing yung water na ginamit nila. Usually din, meron ding mga protocol ang bawat food establishment na dapat naglalabas ng or nag-i-issue ng mismong microbiological contaminants dun sa tubig nila, no? Per 6 months yon. So, usually, mas maganda talaga kung may quality yung restaurant na pupuntahan natin or pagbibilhan natin. So, lagi nating isipin, basta pagbibili tayo, make sure natin talagang equip yung mismong food establishment sa pag-prepare ng pagkain. And also, dun din sa bahay din natin. No? Practice din po natin mga food safety practices na nabanggit ko po kanina. So, salamat po. Is there any more question po? I'm sorry. So, for the foods that are being frozen po, no? So, how long is it acceptable to preserve food? So, nabanggit ko kanina sa temperature, danger zone, no? So, yung mga frozen foods natin, kailangan po 0 degrees Celsius and below po, no? To -18. So para po mas ma-preserve po natin ng mas matagal din yung pagkain natin or yung mga frozen foods natin. So lagi po tatandaan yung temperature po, no, pagka mag-i-store tayo sa fridge natin ng mga frozen foods din po. So yun, thank you po. So mga steaks and food safety. Usually po sa mga steaks din po, kapag na-reach naman po nila yung tamang temperature, kahit mabilisan po yung pagkakaluto nito, maaari pa rin po natin siya i-consume, no? Wala pong problema doon. Basta po na-reach yung tamang temperature sa pagluluto ng steak, maayos po yung kainin natin. So usually naman po kasi sa mga food establishment natin, lalo na yung gumagawa po ng mga steaks, no? Usually, meron po talaga silang temperature na control or yung procedure na ginagawa sa mga steaks. Nilalagyan po nila ng mga internal thermometer, no, para malaman nila kung na-reach yung tamang temperature sa mismong particular food like beef, kung chicken man yan, pork man yan. So, ayun po. So, next po is yung ayan. So, does your institution use color-coded chopping board? If so, how did it impact food safety? Okay po. Yes, Doc. Thank you for your question, Doc. Sa amin po sa Quirino, so kami po ay mga dietitians po, no? So kami po ay gumagamit po talaga ng color-coded chopping board po, no? Sa mga identified na mga iba't ibang food items po natin. Bakit po? Kasi po, lalo na pasyente po yung siniservan natin ng pagkain, binibigyan natin ng service. So kailangan po talaga na panatilihin yung quality ng pagkain and also safe po siyang kainin na ikonsumo ng pasyente po natin. So, ayun po, Doc. We do have color-coded chopping board and knives po. Thank you po, Doc. Sa mga, kung sa pag-order po ng mga chopping boards, meron po kasing mga true bidding, no? Na mga sumasali din po sa mga PhilJeps, no? So, meron po silang website. So, doon po makikita kung sino-sino po yung mga suppliers natin for color-coded chopping board, Doc. Thank you, Dr. Tila Hani. Thank you po. How about the standard time for... Yes po. Sa poultry po, yellow po yung ginagamit namin. Opo. Chicken po. Yes po. Yellow chopping board and knife. And how about the standard time for storing foods in fridge? Okay. So usually, ang mga food items po kasi natin, may kanya-kanya po talaga siyang shelf life, no? Katulad ng mga perishable, lahat naman, yung perishable talaga, yung mga karne, gulay. So, usually, depende rin po kasi sa food item, no? Yung pag-i-store natin kung gaano siya tatagal sa fridge natin. Depende rin po, may mga tips din po tayo kapag mga potatoes, no? Saan siya mas magandang ilagay, no? Hindi siya dapat nilalagay sa ref. yung mga potatoes, root crops, mas maganda siya, meron kayong isang lagayan na box, no? So, doon siya yung mga root crops natin, yung mga onions, garlic. So, doon po dapat ang particular na paglagayan, no? Para doon po sa mga root crops. So, yung iba naman po kasi, yung mga fruits, no? Meron kasing para sa mga cold temperature talaga, meron din naman po para sa mga dry temperature din po. So, ayun po, Sir Esco. So, kung wala na pong questions, okay po. Thank you po, sir. So, kung wala na pong questions regarding po dito sa ating equip series, maaari pong makisagutan na lamang po yung PPR or post-training report na link na ilalagay po dito sa chat box po. Thank you. Thank you for your time po and listening. Thank you so much, everyone.